Welcome into another episode of Locked On Phillies, and the Philadelphia Phillies are playoff bound for the fourth straight season.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm your host, Connor Thomas. Thank you so much for joining us today. We come to you as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You may know me from some of my other work in the sports talk space. I've been on air over at 97.5 The Fanatic doing sports talk radio here in Philadelphia for over 5 years. I've been a credentialed Philadelphia Phillies media member for 4 seasons, and this is now my 4th year as the host of Locked On Phillies. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. The Phillies have done it, folks. They have punched their ticket to Red October, or rather, the Giants losing to the Dodgers has punched the Phillies ticket to Red October, but who cares how you get there? All that matters is that you do get there. And the Phillies, for the 4th straight season, will be playing in Major League Baseball's postseason. This is not a minor accomplishment. It's not the number one goal of the season, not even close, but it's not something to just ignore and take for granted. No, which is why we're going to celebrate it. The Phils won 2 of 3 against the Royals over the weekend. They continue to play good baseball. They continue to win series. I know the finale was not good, and we'll talk a little bit about Aaron Nola here and there and everything, but the Phillies are heading to the postseason, and that's check number 1 on the season list of things to accomplish. We're also going to talk about, with the postseason drawing ever nearer, the National League playoff scenarios, because as we're going to talk about in the first segment, this ain't mission accomplished. This is first step taken. So what else can happen? What else needs to happen? And we'll go through everything going on with the teams in contention in the National League. And then we got a big-time series with the Los Angeles Dodgers starting tonight out in L.A., a big chance to cement yourself as the 2 seed, or a chance to, if things don't go the Phillies' way, make this really, really interesting, and not in a good way. But I need you to take a second and appreciate the Philadelphia Phillies making the postseason for the 4th straight year. This is not something that we can just sit here and say, well, look at the roster, look at the payroll, look at the expectations. They should do this. They don't deserve any credit for making the postseason. I need them to win the World Series. Okay, that is the ultimate goal, to win the World Series, right? But let's think back, because we have been spoiled in a lot of ways by the Philadelphia Phillies over the past 4 years. Prior to the 2022 World Series run, this team hadn't made the postseason for a decade. From 2011 to 2022, you did not have a postseason appearance for the Philadelphia Phillies. I should say 2012, because obviously in 2011 they did make it, but they go out in their first playoff series in that postseason. But that was my senior year of high school, all of my time in college, my time as a young adult, like trying to figure out what I want to do for a living, ended up doing this and everything. Like, it's a lot of time that I spent, that you spent, that the Phillies organization spent not being in this thing. And to now be able to sit here and tell you the Phillies have done it for a 4th straight year and they will be having a Red October at Citizens Bank Park, that's a beautiful thing. And the credit goes to a lot of places. But the number one place that credit goes is John Middleton, the owner of this franchise. Because ultimately, you could look at the payroll and say, wow, well, they spent all this money. They better make the postseason. Sure. You're right. But like, how many teams in baseball, look around, are constantly on the fringes of the postseason picture, or worse, non-competitive in general, because their ownership will not spend, or because of their market, they cannot spend with the big boys. And that's something that part of it is just, hey, it's good to be a Philadelphia fan, right? Major sports market, passionate fan base. But we see some other fan bases around baseball that are passionate, that are in big cities that refuse to spend. Think about the Chicago White Sox, for example. Heck, even some iterations of the Chicago Cubs, who are going to be a postseason team in the National League this year by all accounts, pretty much from what the odds are saying, even though they're not locked in yet. The Phillies are only the second team that has clinched a postseason spot. It's the Brewers, it is the Phillies. And I'm not just talking nationally, I'm talking Major League Baseball. They're one of two teams that have their ticket punched. But don't take for granted what John Middleton has done by going out and opening the checkbook and saying, yo, we need JT Realmuto. We need Zach Wheeler. We need Aaron Nola. We need Bryce Harper. We need Kyle Schwarber, Nick Castellanos, all of these guys that they have gone out and acquired, whether that's trade and then paying them, whether that's free agency and then extending them, whether that's their first contracts with the team. John Middleton has built this team back into a perennial contender, and that is not something that you say, well, that's what owners should do. I mean, if you say that, you're right. But when you look at the standard some of his peers are setting for him, John Middleton is going above and beyond to make this team competitive at a playoff level. Never take that for granted. On top of that, Rob Thompson, who I know a lot of people out there have criticisms of, and I understand them, right? I'm not here to tell you he's the perfect manager. I'm not here to tell you he's a World Series winning manager because he has not accomplished that yet. He has won a National League pennant. But taking over interim in 2022 and his first season, World Series. The next 3 seasons now, he's led this team to the postseason. 2 NLCS appearances. Like, he gets the job done, at least in the regular season. And more often than not, you can argue he gets the job done in the postseason. Their winning percentage in the postseason is better than their losing percentage. I don't know if losing percentage is the right way to say it. They win more than they lose in the postseason under Rob Thompson. And they've made it every single darn year he's been managing this team. So give a little credit to Topper today. And then also give credit to the players, of course, right? We've seen how this team has been playing recently. They are one of the hottest in all of baseball. And that's a team that's smelling the finish line of the regular season and saying, let's finish this strong. We don't have Trey Turner? Fine. We don't have Alec Bohm? Fine. We don't have Zach Wheeler? Fine. Edmundo Sosa gets dinged up? Fine. Brandon Marsh misses a game because he's sick? Fine. Who cares? We're just going to keep our foot on the gas pedal until we make sure we have our ticket punched. How many teams do you look at? Because you could say, hey, the Phillies' expectations are that they should be in the postseason. If they're not, trade everybody, fire everybody, burn the team down, move them to a different city. That would be some people's reaction if this regular season had not resulted in at least a postseason berth. Take a look at the Atlanta Braves. Is that a quality team? Is that a team that is spent on stars? Is that a team with a fan base that expects greatness? They're not going to be in this year, right? Like, there's so many things that happen. Injuries, failure to perform, inconsistencies. And the Phillies, for all of their shortcomings that we carp about, that we say, oh, well, this is why they can't win the World Series. This is why the team is not as good as they should be. This, that, and the other thing. I see underachieving teams around baseball year in and year out that find themselves on the outside of the postseason, even with the expanded postseason. And their fan base wonders, where in the world did we go wrong? Meanwhile, for the past 4 years, the Phillies have been one of the gold standards of Major League Baseball when it comes to the championship contending teams. And for that reason, we're once again getting a red October. And I know what you are thinking as I'm saying all this, right? I'm well aware. I'm not trying to just blindly tell you the Phillies are awesome. They're perfect. How could you ever have a bad word to say about this team? Hey, that's not what I'm getting at here. But think about it, right? Win or lose, first series or World Series, having playoff games at Citizens Bank Park is a beautiful thing that we were without for a decade. Think about it. Even in that Mets series last year, that game 2, Nick Castellanos walk-off, or game 1 when Zach Wheeler is dominating before you end up blowing the game late. it's one of, if not the best environments in baseball. And to be able to experience that, to know that you're going to wake up in late September or early October if the Phillies lock down the 2 seed and say, we are going to be playing high level, win or go home, stressful, sure, troubling sometimes, potentially disappointing when everything's all said and done, sure, but it is for every team. But exciting baseball in the city of Philadelphia, and you get to just wake up and know, wow, we got a postseason game today. We're in the playoffs. We got a chance at this thing. We got a look. You got a ticket to the dance, Philadelphia. And there are going to be a lot of teams that do not have one when it's all said and done. And I never want to take postseason berth for granted. So, yes, 2 or 3 against the Royals. You drop the final game of that series. You have to figure out what you're doing with your rotation. Aaron Nola looked really good until he really didn't. But some other guys have really shown up and shoved for the Philadelphia Phillies. We saw the first look at Walker Buehler. When do guys come back from injuries like Trey Turner and Alec Boehm? What can you do with the bullpen to make sure that you're maximizing what has been a rotating door? Does the outfield stay this high? I'm not telling you there aren't questions, but I'm telling you that to this point, the Phillies have answered them as well as we could have possibly expected in the 2025 regular season. And for that, today is a day of celebration. But there is more to be accomplished. Job's not done. All right. What do we lock in on next? Well, that's why coming up, we're going to talk about the other playoff scenarios in the National League. Who seems to be in? Who's definitively in? And who do the Phillies need to root for or against as they try and lock down one of the top 2 seeds? We will talk about that and take a look at the postseason picture in the National League and how it affects your Fightin' Phils, your playoff-bound Fightin' Phils, as we continue today's episode of Locked On Phillies. All right, let's talk about FanDuel. The NFL season is rolling, and FanDuel is making sure that you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I'm pretty sure that the entirety of this promotion is funded by the amount that I lost betting on the NFL this weekend. I got crushed, and I was great in week 1. That's the beautiful thing. Things are always changing. And if you think you've got the inside track, if you think you have the knowledge to beat the books, well, go ahead and check it out with FanDuel, and you win that first $5 bet, you're going to get $300 to throw around on whatever you want. Props, parlays, money line, spread, over-unders, futures. They got it all. So go ahead and check out FanDuel. And if you're ready to play, and I know you are, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. It's a great time in the sports calendar. Make sure you're checking it out with our friends over at FanDuel. All right, let's talk about Prize Picks too. The daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right means cashing in. With football back, Prize Picks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes all in less than 60 seconds. So easy. You got 2 games on Monday night. Go ahead and check them out. Throw some things together. You want to do 2? You want to do 4? You want to do 6? You've got a lot of player options to pick from. Let's say you want to go more on Emeka Egbuka receptions and also more on Baker Mayfield passing yards. Tampa Bay in action tonight. Those hit, you win. It's literally that easy. And if you download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB, you're going to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. It's so easy. Anybody can do it if I can do it. And it's a great way to get in on the action. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. All right, let's talk a little bit about the National League playoff scenarios. But before we do that, I want to remind you that if you're listening to us in podcast form, and we're available, Locked On Phillies, wherever you get your podcasts, make sure you're rating and reviewing. And if you're checking us out on YouTube, yeah, you can watch the show on YouTube as well. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button on the videos you like. Subscribing is free and easy. and it'll get you notifications when new episodes are posted so you don't miss anything that we have coming up as we head towards Red October. Confirmed Red October. You want to be along for the ride, hit that subscribe button. It helps you out. It helps us out here on Locked On Phillies. So I appreciate everyone who's done that and everyone who's going to do that. Postseason picture. It's getting real interesting out here in the National League. Now we know, as I told you earlier, Phils are in, Brewers are in. We do not have any seeding lockdown. We do not have any divisions locked down. We don't have a lot of stuff figured out besides Milwaukee will play postseason baseball. Philadelphia will play postseason baseball. So let's take a look at where the National League is with everything. So Milwaukee's currently the 1 seed. At 91-59, they're 2 games up on the Phillies. The Phils still have a chance to track down Milwaukee for the top seed in the National League. And how cool would that be? Now, the one problem is Milwaukee has the season series tiebreaker over the Phillies. So it's technically more of a 2.5 game lead. If the Phillies and Brewers end up tied, the Brewers are going to get the 1 seed. So you'd have to beat them by 3 games from here on out. We'll keep an eye on that. I don't want us to take our eye off the ball, right? This Dodgers series that we're going to get into and preview later on in the episode, priority number 1, you got to stave off the Dodgers. You cannot allow them to take the 2 seed. You cannot, with an 89-win season to this point and a chance to make it into the high 90s, be playing in a wild card series. That would be a mess. And I think that would kill the Phils' chances to win the World Series. Not saying that like a wild card team can't go on a run. Saw it with the Mets last year. Saw it with the Diamondbacks the year before. Saw it with the Phillies back in 2022. 2 of the last 3 years, the National League representative in the World Series has been a wild card team. So, yeah, you can do it. But with what this team has and doesn't have pitching-wise, you need to set up your rotation. So, Brewers could get the 1 seed. Phil's most likely you're looking at trying to fight off the Dodgers for that 2 seed. The Dodgers are 4.5 games back on the Phillies, which tells you all you need to know about why this is a huge series. You take advantage of what you got out in LA, you pretty much lock up one of the top 2 seeds. The Cubs are 5.5 back of the Brewers, 3.5 back of the Phillies. The Cubs are in the top wild card position. They cannot jump the Phillies because if they were to do so, they'd have to win their division. And to do that, they'd have to jump the Brewers. And if they jump the Brewers, then that would mean, well, the Phillies would still be ahead of the Brewers then because they would fall into second place in that division. Pretty simple, right? We already talked about the Dodgers. The Padres, keep an eye on the Padres. They still got a shot at winning the National League West. They are only 3.5 back 2.5 back on the Los Angeles Dodgers as we sit right now. So everybody out there in San Diego who's tuned in because they're big-time Phillies fans over the next 3 days, keep an eye on that. Now, I don't expect the Padres, even if they catch the Dodgers, the Dodgers will have to lose baseball games. If the Dodgers lose baseball games, the Phillies are going to get the 2 seed. So none of that is too much of worry. The rest of what we're looking at with the NL East almost wrapped up too, the Phillies' magic number to win the NL East is 1, which means if the Phillies win tonight, they're National League East champions. If the Mets lose, the Phillies are National League East champions. In order for the Phillies to not win the division, they would have to lose out and the Mets would have to win out, which is why last year I already called the NL East in favor of the Phillies. But the wild card is real tricky. The Cubs are fine. They're going to be a postseason team. The Padres should be a postseason team and could win their division, depending on how the Dodgers finish their season. But our pals down there, or up there, I should say, in New York, those Mets, they're getting chased down by a different team. It was the Reds for a little bit. The Reds are 2.5 games out. Diamondbacks, making a little noise, only 2 games out of a postseason spot. The Phillies will play them after this series with the Dodgers. So that's another tricky spot against a postseason hopeful team. But the San Francisco Giants are just a 1.5 games back of the Mets. They can still overtake the Mets, knock them out. And I will tell you right now, for multiple reasons, I need the Mets dead. 1, I hate the Mets. We all should. We're Phillies fans, right? Screw that team. Your division rival, I want their season over. I want to watch the playoff life drain from them. So if the Giants can knock them out, great. More power to you, San Francisco. Also, though, the Mets are they're a team that even though the Phillies took all 4 from them in Citizens Bank Park in this most recent series, you still have trouble playing them in their building. And they do have this faith, it feels like, in big spots that they can beat the Phillies if they get you at Citi Field. So I'd just rather have the boogeyman dead and not have to worry about him, even though that worry should have been significantly lessened by the 4-game sweep that the Phillies completed over the Mets this past week. I'm still looking at it and saying the sooner they die, the better. So we're rooting for one of those teams to knock out the Mets. We're rooting for the Dodgers to lose, and you can take care of that tonight and tomorrow and the next night because you play them 3 times. The Cubs don't really factor in for the Phillies. The Padres shouldn't really factor in for the Phillies. And the Brewers, while they do still have the tiebreaker, could be in striking distance for the Phillies if the 1 seed becomes a priority. But to do that, you got to guarantee yourself one of the top 2 seeds first. So that is your playoff picture. If I had to guess the way that it will seed out, I would imagine the Phillies will be the 2 seed. The Brewers will be the 1 seed. The 3 seed, I think the Dodgers will win that division. I think the 4 seed will be the Cubs. The 5 seed, the Padres. And I do think the Mets end up holding on just long enough to make it into the postseason. So those would be your 6 representatives in the postseason picture. And then it would be Mets, Dodgers in the first postseason series in the wild card, and then Padres, Cubs, which would be one hell of a series. The Phillies would get the winner, of the Mets Dodgers series. That's not ideal. So that's why, as we get deeper into the final part of this season, we may really want the 1 seed, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Coming up next, we got to take care of Los Angeles ourselves and secure the 2 seed. How do the Phillies do it? And are they set up well? I'll argue that their pitching rotation in this series is about as good as you could ask for how these guys are throwing. So we'll talk about that next and the motivation that the Phillies have to take care of business out in LA as we wrap up today's episode of Locked On Phillies. Let's talk a little bit about our friends over at Nutrafol, though. You've probably seen a million ads for hair growth products and thought, sure, like that actually works. Come on, there are so many products out there. It's impossible to know which ones are actually going to do anything. Well, not quite impossible. This is why you should give Nutrafol a closer look. They're the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand trusted by over 1.5 million people. And it's not just hype. This is a supplement clinically tested that targets the root causes of thinning and shedding with a proactive approach. This ain't snake oil, folks. This stuff actually works. And you want to get ahead of it. The proactive part is really important too. You may be sitting here today saying, I noticed a little bit of hair falling out, but I don't have any bald spots or anything. I'm not losing my hair. I don't know. I was scratching my head. That's all it was. You want to get ahead of it before you look up one day and say, oh, my goodness, where did this bald patch come from? And that's what Nutrafol can help you with, too. It's not just for people who are bald. It's for people who don't want to go bald. See thicker, stronger hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. And for a limited time, Nutrafol is offering Locked On MLB listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Phil's Dodgers. Monster series, huge implications for the postseason picture, more so for the Dodgers than for the Phillies. But a desperate, great team is a dangerous team. And the Dodgers are a great team, and they are desperate not to lose their hold on the division. The other thing that's really intriguing about this series is the Dodgers are going to make the playoffs. And I just laid it out for you. If the Phils are the 2 seed, the Dodgers the 3 seed, and they win their wild card series, you've got them coming to the bank for the NLDS. So this is a great preview of what seems to be tracking towards being the Phillies' first postseason series. And that's not ideal. And that would make me very nervous. But the Phils can make me feel a lot better if they go into Chavez Ravine and beat them at Dodger Stadium. They already took 2 of 3 in the season series at the bank. So you win one game and you pretty much set yourself up to have the tiebreaker, right? That's fine. Take care of business as far as that's concerned. Do the Phillies need to win more than one game? Not really, considering the buffer that they have over the Dodgers. Would it be nice to take 2? Or heck, let's dream even 3? Absolutely. And part of the reason you can dream that dream is because of the pitchers the Phillies have going in this series. They got their horses going. And that's the other reason why this is big, because if these guys have trouble in a big series and they're kind of your big 3 guys for the postseason, we're going to start to feel a little bit nervous, especially compared to this unbelievable stretch the Phillies have been on. There have been very few points in the season where you should feel more confident in the Phillies than you do right now. That can flip real quick if you see a team in the Dodgers that look like they're going to have your number in October. Ranger Suarez throws tonight. He throws against Emmett Sheehan. But Ranger's been really, really good lately. He's got his ERA down to 2.77 on the year. We're going to talk more about this game tonight in a second. But then you get Sanchi throwing tomorrow. Christopher Sanchez, Shohei Ohtani. What a pitching matchup on a Tuesday night in LA. That's big time. And then you get Jesus Luzardo throwing in the final game against Blake Snell. So, big time pitching matchups, marquee names, lineup, rotation, bullpen. This is what it's all about, folks. This is like 2 of the best teams in baseball duking it out, playoff seeding on the line. That's what you get excited for, right? And it's much better to be in the position the Phils are because, hey, let's go worst case scenario real quick. The Phils go out there and they lose all 3 games and get smoked by the Dodgers. They still have a 1.5 game advantage over the Los Angeles Dodgers and an easier finish to the schedule than what the Dodgers have. You round out with Diamondbacks, Marlins, Twins. Marlins and Twins ain't playing for nothing. So those should be 2 comfortable series if you do need them. And that Diamondback series could be tricky, but they're a beatable team as well, right? So the Phillies are in the position of power in this series. They're going to have to really show up, though. And they're going to have to be more ready for the moment. This is not getting the Mets at your ballpark, right? This is going into a hostile environment where they're sniffing October and the defending World Series champion Dodgers, if they are as great as people projected them to be ahead of the season, have a switch that they can flip. And guess what? This is the time of year where you're standing by the wall and you're turning it up and down saying, hey, yo, this thing work? They're trying to flip the switch right now. And the Phillies are going to have to try and keep them from being able to do that in this series. You still don't have Trey Turner. You still don't have Alec Bohm. So it's not like the Phillies are rolling in at full strength either. And there is this weird voice in the back of my head. And it's not for October, right? This is for this series against the Dodgers, September 15th, 16th, and 17th. So don't take this as like, oh, Connor said he was confident, and now he's saying he's worried. I do just look at the guys that are out currently for the Phillies that will be coming back before or for the postseason and say, yeah, at some point, the Otto Kemp heater is going to cool off. At some point, you're not going to be able to win games with Donovan Walton playing. At some point, maybe the outfield will not be as hot as they have looked, right? So you can't just continue to expect the Phillies to play at the level that they have been for the past couple weeks. And maybe the pressure of playing against a team like the Dodgers will get to them. I don't know. This is something that will have to be proven or disproven later on tonight. 10 p.m. first pitch here on the East Coast, by the way. So make sure you drink your coffee if you're staying up for this one. I'll be up. I'll be tweeting, even though I got to be up at 4 a.m. You see these things I do for you guys? I'm watching every single game. I'll ruin my sleep schedule because I love the fightings. And I love making sure that I'm giving you guys the information that you deserve. And we've been through a long road together this year. But ultimately, with the postseason already accomplished, the 2 seed just right there, you can reach out and take it. And the NL East basically already in the Phillies' grasp. This should be a fun series, right? We should go into this confident. feeling good. Even if you worry about the sustainability of the guys the Phillies are doing it with right now offensively, you should be able to roll into this series thinking, yeah, but we're still better than this baseball team right now. And to say that about the Dodgers in mid-September in this season, you never would have had me believing that back in March and April when this season got going. So we'll see if the Phillies can take game one. We will see how they handle. As Sheehan's a solid pitcher. They got some good numbers, a 3.32 ERA. Righty, though, so maybe Kyle Schwarber, a little heat check. He got a little heated up in that Royals series. Maybe it continues. That's a guy that I'm going to be watching very closely tonight to see if he takes the big stage and runs with it. And we'll see if the Phillies do the same. And oh my goodness, Ranger, if you can dice out there, we're feeling really good about October with the pitching staff. We'll be talking about the game on tomorrow's episode, but that's all for today's episode. Thank you so much for joining us. Once again, we are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Please make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribing to the YouTube, all that great stuff that really helps us out here on Locked On Phillies and helps you out. And I'll talk to you tomorrow about our playoff-bound Philadelphia Phillies on the next episode of Locked On Phillies.